72 hours. That was the lifespan of the document that was supposed to bring an end to one of the most costly wars of the decade. June 17th. Versailles. Donald Trump signs the Islamabad Memorandum of Understanding with Iran. At the same time, remotely from Tehran, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian adds his signature in digital form. The headlines that evening were unequivocal. The war is over. The Strait of Hormuz is open. The blockade has been lifted. Billions in Iranian assets have been unfrozen. Less than 3 days have passed. On June 20th, today, Iran's Khatam al-Anbiya Central Command announces, the strait is closed. Again. This video covers 3 points. First, why this deal was mathematically beneficial to both sides and what each side was actually buying. Second, why a truce signed in one office is worth nothing on the ground, where other people are fighting. Thirdly, what exactly the reclosure of the Strait of Hormuz means right now, and why this cycle is, in all likelihood, not the last. Let's start with the economics of each side, because neither Trump nor Tehran signed multi-page documents out of the goodness of their hearts. They do the maths. For the US, the cost of this war was not an abstract concept. It meant months of a naval blockade of Iran, deployed aircraft carrier strike groups, and depleted air defense arsenals across several theaters simultaneously. We analyze this in the video about the shortage of SM-6 and Patriots in the Red Sea. A blockade is costly in every respect. It requires a constant naval presence, the interception of sanctions violators, and the risk of direct confrontation every week. Lifting the blockade in exchange for the opening of the strait is a way for Washington to extricate itself from a costly cycle without suffering a formal defeat. On paper, it is a diplomatic victory. In reality, it is a way out of an exhausting and costly operation. For Iran, the maths is different, but no less cold. The country has been fighting a war on several fronts since February. The economy relies on oil exports, which have been partially paralyzed by the blockade. The unfreezing of billions in assets is a lifeline for a budget that has been operating for months under the stranglehold of sanctions. Both sides got exactly what they wanted: a respite, not peace. A respite dressed up as peace. The problem is that a respite is not a contract for peace. It is simply a pause that lasts only until one of the third parties decides that this pause does not suit them. June 18th to 19th. Israel declares that the U.S. memorandum with Iran imposes no obligations on it. The IDF continues its strikes against Hezbollah in Lebanon. In response, Iran cancels the talks scheduled for June 19th in Switzerland. By the evening of June 19th, Israel and Hezbollah formally agree to a ceasefire, but strikes on positions in the Bekaa Valley continue. Here lies the technical crux of the matter, and it is known as the problem of control over proxies. Trump signs the document on behalf of the U.S. Pezeshkian signs on behalf of Iran, but neither of them physically signed anything on behalf of Netanyahu, nor did either of them sign anything on behalf of Hezbollah. Israel's position was publicly stated even before the signing. This deal concerns Washington and Tehran, not Jerusalem. IDF troops will remain in southern Lebanon indefinitely, regardless of the outcome of the negotiations. Imagine it like this: 2 people agree to stop fighting, but one of them brings his dog to the negotiation, and that dog hasn't signed anything. The dog continues to growl because it has its own memory, its own pain, and its own logic, which is not bound by the paper signed by its master. For Iran, Hezbollah is not a puppet with a remote control switch. It is an autonomous military organization with its own command structure, its own casualties, and its own internal logic of escalation. Iran can negotiate on its own behalf. It is physically incapable of ordering a structure that is waging its own war to stop. The same principle works the other way round. Netanyahu has come under domestic pressure following the strike on Hezbollah's headquarters in Beirut. National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir publicly refused to recognize the terms of the new agreement as binding on Israel. At this very moment, we have 2 mutually exclusive official statements. Iran says closed. The U.S. says traffic continues. This is not unusual in such crises. The closure of the strait is announced by the military command instantly, whilst its actual technical implementation, laying mines, patrolling, and the threat of interception takes time and is not always fully implemented from day one. But even the threat of a closure is already a weapon. Around 20% of all the oil traded globally each day passes through the Strait of Hormuz. A mere announcement of a closure, without a single shot being fired, drives up insurance premiums for tankers, forces ship owners to rethink their routes, and is instantly reflected in the price per barrel on the exchange. The agreement sets out an intention. The calculation of costs dictates behavior. If, for Iran, the price of continuing the deal is a public acknowledgement that Israel is striking at an ally with impunity, and for the US, the price of reacting to that acknowledgement is the excessively high domestic political cost of putting pressure on Netanyahu, then the deal has absolutely no chance of surviving the first serious blow to its weakest point. The weak point here was evident from the outset. It is neither Iran nor the US. It is all the other participants who have not signed anything. If the renewed shutdown is confirmed and lasts more than a few days, the world will enter its third cycle of an oil shock in the last 6 months, triggered by the very same point on the map. Each cycle is not a new problem. It is the very same structural vulnerability that has not gone away simply because someone signed a piece of paper. This does not mean that negotiations are pointless. It means that negotiations between two capitals never control what happens between people with weapons on the ground, until those people themselves become part of the equation.